regulating bride price is a bad move. A few days ago, I'd been following a discussion on the social media about a truly cultural institution, current intention to review the traditional bride price and come out with a standard and uniform figure. I understand that the Prime Minister of a truly cultural institute, 𝙁𝙊𝙇𝙇𝙊𝙁, said that once they are finished, it will be implemented effective from March 2020. I don't believe that there are defined reasons to start regulating bride price in Acholi land. Our ancestors are the one who came out with that idea of bride price during that time. And they knew that marriage is between two families, and it is the duty of those two families to sit down and negotiate that process. That is the best grassroots policy that our ancestors left behind. A grassroots democracy that we followed all these years, and it would be a bad move to start regulating bride price just because some few people within the community who are dissatisfied or are not able to raise the amount the other family want them to pay. Let me be clear. Marriage is not a buying and selling process. It is a gift we offer to one side of the family because they spend years and years upbringing the person you are going to marry. And that person you are going to marry is going to move away from that family to join another family. And she will become a productive member of the new family she is going to join. So let's be very careful with what we wish for. Because if we start regulating bride price, then from one pot to the other, there will come other regulations. That when we finish with the bride price, we are going to move to another process of regulating something else. And if you start regulating cultural gifts to fit the interests of the few, then we are going the wrong way. That is not what our ancestors had in mind. Our ancestors knew very well that it is the two families who have the key to solve that problem. They knew that the grassroots democracy works, and it has been working all these years. When I was growing up, I heard my father making a joke that, you see, I married your mother twice because when I took the first gift and we went back, and your uncle said it was not enough, so I had to go back and take more. But I'm happy with it, because if I look at you, my children, then I feel it was the right thing to do. The problem has to be solved between two people, not bringing in cultural institution or leaders in actually land to start messing up and changing our cultural heritage. That is a mistake. That the actually cultural institute want to follow that path. When we start ruling our cultural institution with decree, we end up in a endless problem. We are going to end up in a endless problem. That can lead to a rejection of the role of cultural institution on one hand by some other people who love their cultural heritage. We have a saying in Acholi land that if you stay for a long time near a anthill, your color begin to change into the color of a anthill. We all know that if you begin to regulate people's daily life, it will end up into dictatorship. And that is what our elders, what our ancestors didn't want. You cannot regulate people's daily life. We have the Wang-oo, where it brings family together, where it brings uncles together. And that is where they solve most of the problems, including the bride price. If you're interested in my daughter and you come to ask for her hand, we will sit down, we will talk, we will understand one another as families, two families who are trying to join together, who are trying to become relatives. That is why we call the other side uncle. We can sit down, understand one another, talk, and we solve the bride price problems. We should not turn a small problem into an elephant, or consider the few people who might be running to the leaders, running to the chiefdom, asking for them to regulate the bride price. That is something that we should explain to these people, that our tradition, there is already a source, the Wang-oo, the coming together of the two families. They have those rules and regulations that can solve that problem. It should not be the job of elected leaders or the cultural institution to solve the problem, because our elders knew that the problem with bride price, it regulates itself automatically. You don't have to go and put some other people down to regulate it, because it will not work. We have, among different families, there are some families who does not ask for 200,000 cows to marry their daughter. We had a system whereby if you give gift to the mother, to the auntie, to the uncles, and then you come to an agreement, how many cows I can offer them, how many goats, you can always make that argument, you can always come together, you can always get a solution. I still think it would be a problem, because I, as an individual, I don't want to follow that path of regulating bride price. I don't want to go and tell one family that now that you have a daughter, if somebody wants to marry your daughter, you are not going to ask for something more than 2 cows. That is something that is not acceptable, and that is the path I don't want to follow. Actually, cultural institution, as it is, according to my understanding, it has a very clear democratic approach set by our ancestors and elders. We had been following the same path for many years. Our democratic system is very simple. We have the Wangoo, the fireplace, in every household in Acholi land. Things like bride price is left for the two families involved to negotiate and come out with a workable result without the interference of cultural leaders. It is the job of the family members to sit down in a circle with the uncles, the relatives, to handle such important problems affecting their family. If they cannot come to an agreement, then they can involve the clan, because the possibilities are still there. The clan are there. They can still go and ask the clan for advice and help. Our custom require a groom family to pay the bride's family a bride price. That is something that had been happening and is older than you and me put together. It is negotiable, and our people had always come out with acceptable agreement that satisfied both sides. Payment usually comes in forms of gifts, money, or a combination of both, depending on many factors. Including families, tribe, financial situations, bride's age, which is openly debated between the two families before reaching acceptable compromise. But we have also the law of the nation that gives indication when a girl can get married. How old should the girl be? Those are all is in the law of the country, and it's very clear. I see no reason for a cultural institution to come in and say, I had been hearing a lot of complaint from my subject. Now I want to change the law. I changed the law that you pay less and you can marry as many women as you want. Those laws are already there. We have been marrying more women, 3 or 4, even before. And when you start regulating it, it means there are some people, as I've been hearing on the social media, they are already saying, well, that is a very good move because then it will give me time to marry as many women as I want to. That is nonsense. Let's leave the bride price problems to the two families to solve it themselves. We don't have to follow another system because our neighbor regulated their bride price. So we have to become or turn into dictatorship because we want to follow the route our neighbors are following and change the bride price. I won't do that. I won't do that. Because our elders, our ancestors, have a very clear grassroots democratic approach to bride price. Some of you may think that this man has become a whole better man, but I'm not. I just want to keep our cultural heritage, our democratic, grassroots democracy to be kept as it was. It represents who we are and who our children are going to be and who our grandchildren will look like. The cultural system we have has nothing to do with a woman who has gone to the university or in a graduate school or working place. It is a simple appreciation for what that family did in bringing up their daughter for many years before she moves to join another family and become our home for many years to come. Let's not bring baseless argument about divorce law into bride price. Divorce laws comes out the moment when love becomes sour and the two want to go their own way. Then we have to look at what these two people build together. And that can be divided equally. In fact, I don't believe that a man should begin to claim back bride price. I don't believe it's necessary. It is time that we understand that a bride price is a gift which is not refundable after marriage. Anybody in his good mind should understand that when you marry that woman and you bring her to your family, you build up a future for yourself. You have children. Those children will call the other part of the family uncles. And the relationship between those uncles will be there forever. Nothing can change it. When you start asking for a refund, then I should also come out with a simple suggestion that if you ask for a refund and you say you don't want my daughter anymore, then I should also have a right to have my daughter back with all the children she produced, because during your marriage, she also built something in that family. She worked hard after I've paid their school fees to the university level or what. So if you start claiming those money, then the other family should also claim all the children back with the daughters, and they come back and they belong to that family. And that is something that is very confusing. So let's be very clear. Let's not even go to that level of saying, yeah, now I want my money back, and you start claiming it when you have not studied the consequences of those claims you want to make, because it could mean a lot to many people. We should stop crying like spoiled children. That, oh, let's go to the paramount chief, let's talk to him, he has to change that law, we should start paying less. That is nonsense. It should not happen. And if it happens, then we are following the route of dictatorship. You see, in life, if you begin to regulate everything, then we are heading for a very dangerous moment in life. And it is not you and me who are going to be a part of the suffering after suffering. Because in that process, divorce become normalized. Let's not try to normalize divorce, because marriage between two people is something that they have to decide for themselves. Not a cultural institution, not the family, but the two people who got into understanding and they got married. They have to decide for themselves. We have to leave the problems to those two to solve it. I understand that the actually cultural institution is trying to draft a bylaw on bride price. I don't know whether that is the right way to go. Some people are already talking in social media. That is a welcome approach, but let's be very clear that the moment we begin to regulate our subject, personal life, because a group of people complain about the high bride price, the next time we are going to get the next complaint about smoking marijuana. And we have to regulate that too. And believe me, the moment you get down in regulating people's life, it leads to dictatorship. Let the people go back to actually grassroots democracy, where families are the one to solve the problems based on Wang-oo approach, not from top to bottom, because we think we know more and we know better than the people we lead. I understand that marriage in actually had been made ugly. But if you go back to our cultural marriage, you will agree with me that marriage in our culture is a beautiful thing that can happen to individuals. Let's hope that we get back to actually grassroots democracy that protect both sides equally. But we have to be careful. The moment you start ruling by creating laws after laws, it turns into dictatorship, which is something we are not waiting to see in actually land. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be back.